Hello everyone, welcome back to Grow Leafy. I have got work to do, and this video is going to be about soil testing and just some results, and I'm going to quickly go over with you just quickly in general and highlight a couple of these points that I learned about my own soil here in my raised beds, and even in the soil, my in-ground soil that I really haven't done much planting yet, but I know I am planning on doing some perennial planting in ground and then also some trees. And so I knew that it would be very important for me to test my soil. And especially because over the time this past year, I've had some pest issues, maybe just some other kind of just general gardening type issues, but still to be fully knowledgeable about my soil, what nutrients are lacking or nutrients are in there and that don't need to continually be added. It's just so important to be a well-rounded gardener that is knowledgeable about the garden soil that you have. Garden soil that is enriched and that is full with what it needs really helps plants to really thrive. It also allows a plant to be able to uptake the nutrients. But if there is some kind of deficiency or anything that is really lacking, that is inhibiting the plant from being able to wick up that nutrients so the plant can be healthier, will really have an effect on your plant. And so I know that I could go out to get my garden soil tested by maybe going to, an extension office. That is an option. I know that I can go to let's say one of the big box stores and pick up a little sample, little kit where you can, test it yourself. But I really wanted to just send mine away to a laboratory, get it tested, and then really have this garden center locally to really assist me with the proper recommendations that are going to be needed and exactly what I need to do to fix any problems that I may have in my garden. So in today's video, with limited time because it is almost nighttime because the evenings are so short, I am going to do some things to this garden bed. All right, like I mentioned, I'm going to make this very quick because it's going to set. The sun's going to set real soon. And the most important thing right now is just explain this to you and then get the actual work done. So I got to do this very quickly. I'm going to just touch on some key points that really stood out to me in this report and then the recommendations that were made as well. So I'm going to put up some pictures here so that you can see which garden closures I am referring to. So in garden enclosure 1, this is garden enclosure 1. And then I have garden enclosure 2, that was a part of the report. And then this was also included in one of the garden enclosures. I believe it was garden enclosure 2. And then as well, I have clay soil, and I know that I'm going to be planting a lot of trees. And so I want to make sure that my soil, in-ground soil, was also being tested. So that's what's behind me right there. So what I found out was that, first of all, I have too much organic matter. I was like, what? Too much organic matter? But I love compost. But I love composting chicken poop, and I love the worm castings. I love the tree barks, the leaves, and all the carbon material. I love composting, as you can already see. In a lot of my videos, I have compost. But what I found out, check this out. In my garden closure, both 1 and 2, too much of a good thing can sometimes be too much, that I have too much organic matter. And I was shocked because I was like, I'm making really great soil. And I know that out there in the gardening world, there are many people that just plant in pure organic matter. And adding to it. I'm not saying anything's wrong with it, but the way that it was explained to me after I read this report, it was explained to me that you really want to have a balance, and everything. You want to have a balance in your soil. And so I just started to read up on that some more. And so there's a lot of organic matter. And so the first thing they recommended to me was do not add any more organic matter to my garden beds. Do you know how hard that was for me to take that information? That was so hard because I said I love making compost and I keep adding it every year. And every year I would just add, in the fall time when I close my beds, I would add organic matter. So first of all, pump the brakes, Miss Alethea. Pump the brakes at Grow Leafy and stop adding organic matter for about 2 years. And so I said, well, then how am I supposed to fill my garden beds because the soil has went down? And boom, that's another thing too. Another thing is, when you have organic matter, because it breaks down, yes, the soil is going to come down. It's going to be eaten up and it's going to break down, and you're going to see a lot of shrinkage in your garden beds because it's organic. And so it breaks down. And so they said, no, don't add that. So I said, what am I going to add then? And they said, add some topsoil. Add a balance of some topsoil in there. So I said, okay, all right, I'm going to try something different. And so, you know, you live, you learn, you make mistakes or not. We'll see. We shall see. And I will keep you all updated on how this goes. I also mentioned, but my plants were doing well. I was growing a lot of foods and there wasn't any issues. And the person reminded me, they said, well, you know, sometimes when you're sick, you don't know that you're sick. You go to the doctors and your doctor might recommend something, but you may feel fine, but there's something going on in your body. And I was like, got it. Okay. So I will try this out. So I'm testing it out, not with all of my beds, but with the beds that I did not already have filled up with compost because I didn't know that. So this garden bed, I need to add topsoil, and that's what's in here. So I'm going to mix topsoil into my garden bed. That's what I'm going to be doing. Okay, so that's what I learned about organic matter. So I mentioned garden 2, 23.44% organic matter. There's that much in there. And then garden 1 had 18.45. The other thing that I found out too is just that I need to lower my pH just a little bit. The pH for your garden, the plants really like between 6.5 to 7.0. That's like that neutral range. 7.0 really being the neutral range. But mine was, one of them was, garden 2 was at 7.0, and then garden 1 was at 7.2. But I've always wondered if I wanted to lower it just a little bit, because I grow hydroponically indoors as well. And I always bring my plant's pH to about a 6.0. I know that's very low. It's leading to more acidic. So I'm going to go for about 6.5 for my garden beds outdoors. And some of my plants, like my tomato plants, they love more acidic soil. So maybe by lowering it just by half a point, that's really going to help my other plants like tomatoes, or if I decide to grow blueberries or just some other acidic loving plants. But it's also going to help out the other regular plants that like more of a neutral pH balance. The other thing that I found out is that my calcium for one of my beds was too low and that it needs to be raised. So that was another thing. I was like, this is really interesting. So here are the recommendations. So they basically recommended that for the garden beds, of course, for the next 2 years to stop adding organic matter to the raised beds. Okay, so I'll do that. So in order to fill my beds up, I'm going to add in topsoil. Okay, I will do that, trust the process, and see how that goes for the next couple of years. It was also suggested for the garden beds in particular that to add some aragonite into that as well. So the aragonite is going to help with the base saturation for the calcium. And then the other thing is fertilizer, which I do add fertilizer, but this is something that I'm going to do really in the spring, and I'm going to seek out the consultation that I need to make sure that I'm adding the appropriate amount to my garden beds. But you know, a dry fertilizer, and then it was also recommended to do some kind of foliar spray, which I do, but to do foliar spray as well throughout the growing season. And so that's what was reported for the raised beds. Now, in particular to the actual in-ground soil, my clay soil, found out that it is extremely low on organic matter, and it's at 3.63%. And so I was recommended to add a whole bunch of organic matter to that area, especially that's where I'm going to be planting trees. So I'm going to work on that. And pretty much I would say that's it. I think the calcium as well needs to be raised for the soil in ground. And then that's pretty much the recommendations. This evening, in the last probably 30 minutes that I have, is add in the topsoil, mix it into this raised bed here, because I've already got the other one done. And then I'm going to cover it with some leaves if I have any left. I know I have a bunch of leaves, but I had leaves in a bag. So if I have those already in a bag, I'm gonna go ahead and dump that on here, or maybe tomorrow if I run out of time. But the most important thing is getting this mixed, because my soil is not frozen. I'm able to still mix through it. And so that's what I wanna get done right now. Let's go. The thing I did not like about this is that I have to disturb my soil structure in order to mix this in, because I do want to make sure that's mixed in. But the beautiful thing about insects and just all these beneficial insects, they will come in and they will still work. They'll come in and do their thing. But I just didn't want to disturb it, but I have to do what I got to do to make this right. So that's just what you got to do. Sometimes you gotta change things up, and hopefully, oh, look at this. Something's sprouting in there. Because at first I was gonna put a cover crop in there. I put the seeds in and then they weren't germinated. Then I took it out, but guess what? Looks like they were germinating inside there. Oh boy. At least this is a small bed, so if they start popping up at some point, all I have to do is just pick them out. Look at that. Cover crops is growing. It's amazing how the cover crops were not showing to sprout, but they sure sprouted inside. I'm telling you, these garden beds that I've had have produced some really great food. And that's all that I was doing with the other bed, is just mixing it up. So I don't want this topsoil just to sit on the top. I want it to be blended in together with it. And then so next year, all I just want to do is just blend it in, but towards the top. You can see that it's all mixed in. This will be exciting to see what these results are. So even though, like I said, my garden was producing really great plants, I had healthy plants and it was no issues. You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But you know what? I'm going with the recommendations, because if I can enhance and improve it even better, and it was tested by soil scientists in a laboratory, then I'm hoping the recommendations will just enhance what it is that I'm already doing. Pretty great. So I'm gonna drop now the leaves on top. All right, that is it, and I'm done. It is actually getting pretty dark right now, and so I'm gonna head on in. But this is it. I just added just some dried leaves to this. This is organic material, but I am not mixing it into the soil, into an area where the plant's roots will be, you know, affected by it. But what I'm gonna do in the spring is to remove this leaf mulch, and I'm still gonna protect my soil because I wanna make sure that my soil is still retaining moisture, but that will be for the top of the soil. I'm not mixing it into the actual soil. I hope this video was helpful. I guess my point is just to really just get your soil tested, whether you use a laboratory or an extension office or a local garden center, or maybe there might be, you know, just an expert in your area that is an expert in soil or and understanding the soil science. Or you may even want to just go to your garden center, get a little kit that you can do it yourself. Just do something, whatever that is for you, so that you can understand what it is that your soil needs. I hope this video was helpful, and just remember to grow leafy, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.